It was a strange feeling to be dragged into another challenge. At least for Enoshita. The others seemed to be quite used to it already. The last challenge was still fresh in Enoshita's mind, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Despite the good end, it was a complete fail. Not that he expected much from it in the first place, but the whole note thing as if dug a hole under his feet. Sure, Tanaka was very attentive after the whole fiasco, probably trying to make up for the thrown-out note. But that wasn't the problem here. Chika, do we have any snacks around here? The loud voice snapped Enoshita out of his thoughts, making him realize he was staring into nothingness for the last 5 minutes. He sighed and rubbed his face, stretching his back after a long sitting. His muscles groaned in protest against the change in position. I should know better as a physician. There should be something in the left cupboard, I think. Why? Tanaka hummed, but otherwise didn't respond. Enoshita furrowed his brow and closed the medical reports he was reading, or tried to read before he got lost in his thoughts, before he leaned over the back of the couch to try to see into the kitchen. Ryu? Yeah, hold on a bit. I am, but why? You'll see. Stay where you are, okay? Enoshita tilted his head in confusion, but obeyed and stayed seated where he was. What are you planning this time? He slumped into the throw pillows and closed his eyes. The main problem his mind was facing was the fact that Tanaka immediately supposed the note was from a woman. He knew it was an irrational thought. Of course he supposed it was from the woman that openly flirted with him. Anyone would make that connection, right? And yet, it opened one door in his head he was trying so hard to keep locked and forget about. But it wasn't easy when the reminders were all around him. Are you tired? He flinched and looked up at his boyfriend, who stood above him with arms full of bowls with snacks and a few drinks, together with an USB with their movie collection. A bit? What's this for? He pushed aside all the papers scattered over the coffee table to make space for all the things Tanaka brought. You seemed a bit quieter than usual today, so I thought we could make ourselves a nice evening. What do you think? Enoshita blinked in surprise. He didn't even notice he was acting differently than before, though it shouldn't really be a shock that Tanaka picked up on even the smallest change in his behavior. He was very perceptive to others' emotions, after all. He smiled and made more space on the couch next to him. Sure, I'm done with this anyway. It wasn't true. He still had a lot of medical records to go through, but he didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to spend a nice time with his boyfriend. Enjoy it while it lasts. Tanaka beamed. He put the flash disk into the TV and flopped down on the couch beside Enoshita, immediately wrapping his arms around him like an octopus. Enoshita melted into the firm yet gentle embrace and snuggled closer, letting out a content sigh. Enjoy it while it lasts. They decided to go to sleep when Tanaka started to nod off during the second movie. It was an adorable sight, but Enoshita was worried about his boyfriend's back and neck if he fell asleep on the couch, so he rather moved both of them into the bedroom. He now laid in the bed wide awake, watching Tanaka's peaceful sleeping face. It was so different from the usual fiery expression he always wore in front of others. Relaxed, soft, and almost warm. This was possibly the realest side of Tanaka, the one perhaps only his partners knew. His chest constricted. He always thought Tanaka preferred women. Considering his constant running after Kyoko for most of the high school and some time beyond that, it was a logical conclusion. In fact, he didn't even know his then still only friend was bisexual until Tanaka knocked on his door 4 months ago, flowers in hand, and asking him on a date. He said yes back then, even though he couldn't wrap his mind around what was happening. Of course he said yes. He had been hiding his feelings for years, thinking it could never happen. But the more he thought about it, the more doubts about the whole thing he had. Why me, Ryu? Why so sudden? Tanaka stirred in his sleep and cracked his eyes open. Suga? What's wrong? Enoshita smiled, a pleasant warmth spreading through his chest. It's nothing. I can't sleep. Tanaka grumbled and rubbed his eyes. Are you cold? I can turn on heating if you want. Or I can make you a tea. No, you don't have to. I'll be fine. Tanaka furrowed his brow and shifted on the bed to gently cup Enoshita's cheek. Chika, you have to rest. You can tell me if you need anything. It's not a problem. Enoshita lowered his gaze. Can you hug me? There was a short pause, after which Tanaka wrapped his arms around his waist and pulled him to his chest. You don't have to ask for hugs, you know. Just go for it. I'm not going to push you away. Squeezing his eyes shut, Enoshita clutched Tanaka's t-shirt in his hands. He knew that. They were boyfriends after all. Dating. Apparently loving each other. But it still felt strange to just go for a hug or other form of physical intimacy. Do you think you will be able to sleep now? Enoshita bit his lip and buried his face into Tanaka's chest. For sure. Thank you. No need to. Good night. Good night. Aone rushed home from work, only stopping at the convenience store on the corner to buy something to make dinner from while he tried his hardest not to let his worries get the better of him. He was always nervous about leaving Kenji home alone, especially in the last week when his boyfriend started to become quite restless. He still couldn't walk properly on his own and had to lean on the crutches, but the long recovery was taking a toll on him, and Aone was worried he might fall again and hurt himself even more. But there was no other way. He had to go back to his own job, which meant he had to leave Kenji at home on his own. He just hoped he wouldn't come home one day to his boyfriend writhing in pain on the ground. He shook his head to shoo away the mental image and sped up to be home as soon as possible. He had no trouble admitting, both to himself and to others, that the time he spent caring for Kenji in the 2 weeks directly following after his injury made him a bit more clingy towards his boyfriend. Kenji often teased him for it, but the way he snuggled into Aone's arms like an overgrown cat every evening told him Kenji was as clingy as him. It was yet another reason to rush home. He opened the door and frowned when, to his surprise, he could immediately smell some food being cooked. Kenji? He heard muffled rumbling from the kitchen, and soon his boyfriend's head appeared from behind the corner. Oh, hey Nobu, welcome home. I didn't expect you so early. I'm making dinner. I hope you are hungry. Aone hummed in displeasure and followed after Kenji. You should be resting, not cooking. I can take care of that. Kenji blushed, averting his gaze to the floor. Yeah, well, I felt bad that you have to do everything around the house now and go to work on top, so I thought I could surprise you. You would surprise me if you actually rested. Yeah, about that. I really needed to move. The constant lying or sitting is horrible. I need some action or I'll go crazy in here. Aone cupped Kenji's face, giving him a soft kiss. He smiled lightly when he felt Kenji melting in his hands when he caressed his cheeks. I know it's difficult for you, but you have to rest if you want to heal properly. So please go sit down. I'll finish this. Kenji looked like he wanted to protest, but it only took one look from Aone for him to grumble under his breath and move to sit by the table. Aone's heart sank watching the wobbly way Kenji was moving. He recently started to put more weight on his injured knee, so he wasn't hopping around on only one leg anymore, but it was still far from a steady walk. You are really stubborn sometimes, you know that? Aone raised his eyebrow. Says you. Kenji huffed, apparently offended, his expression making Aone smile. He pressed another kiss to Kenji's forehead and then turned to the stove to finish their dinner. Later that night, he waited for the right moment to start the challenge. He felt bad for having to wake Kenji up again when his boyfriend finally fell into an uneasy sleep after a full hour of tossing and turning around. He still didn't get used to the brace around his leg, he said. But Aone was neither stupid nor blind. He knew Kenji was in pain and just didn't want to admit it. I do always have to put on that tough act, dear. You know I would help you with everything you could need or want. You just have to say a word. He stilled when he heard a quiet whimper leaving Kenji's mouth, followed shortly after by another, confirming Aone's concerns. Kenji's face scrunched in pain, his hands clenching the blankets. Aone ran his hand over his shoulder, trying to gently get his attention. Kenji. Another quiet whimper left Kenji's mouth. I'm fine. I'm fine. Aone sighed, sitting up. No, you aren't. He got up to fetch some water and painkillers. Kenji hesitantly sat up and swallowed the 2 pills without a single word, which by itself was a clear sign for Aone about how excruciating the pain must have been. He climbed back on the bed, carefully pulling Kenji down and close to him while minding his knee, worried he might accidentally bump into it. That was the last thing he wanted. Kenji snuggled closer to his chest, so close Aone could feel his fast-beating heart on his skin. I'm sorry. Aone sighed before kissing his forehead. Why do you keep the pain to yourself? Because I feel bad for annoying you with it all the time. I thought I could sleep it off. That it will go away after some time when I grit my teeth. But it just got worse and I couldn't. I'm sorry. You know I recognize when you are in pain anyway, right? Kenji nodded. I know. Sorry. I just want to walk properly again. Without the crutches and pain and without bothering you with small things all the time. Aone lifted his chin to make him look up. Kenji's eyes were wide and slightly red from the tears in the corners of his eyes, and Aone's heart broke. He gently wiped the tears away with his thumbs. I told you I don't mind taking care of you, and I stand by that. Give it time. It will all go away eventually. I'll be here the whole time. New tears glimmered in Kenji's eyes. You promise? Aone nodded. I promise. Despite his personal promise to himself that he wouldn't do another challenge, Hayato was really looking forward to this one. It was sweet, and finally something that couldn't really go wrong. Unless, of course, Taichi would start panicking for one reason or another. But Hayato believed in his ability to calm him down in that case. Besides, it was an almost free pass for extra snuggling, which was something he couldn't let pass. He sighed and checked the clock for about the 100th time, mentally pushing it to move faster. He had been getting a bit bored and lonely lately. His recovery was slow and painful, and even though he could somewhat move around, all the damage he sustained couldn't be undone in just 2 months. His legs were still wobbly under him, and he had trouble breathing sometimes, proving it difficult to exercise properly. But he was determined to make it work. He wanted to play again, and if it meant he had to push through the pain a few times a day to get there, so be it. On top of that, Taichi had to go back to school and work, having to take more shifts to cover for the missing half of one income, which meant Hayato was home alone most of the time. That, of course, wasn't Taichi's fault, and Hayato would never dream of blaming him for it. But still. Fortunately, the day when he could pick up his savings from the bank account without fees was getting closer. And then, no more long shifts for you, sweetheart. He checked the clock again and rejoiced when he heard the key rattling in the lock. Welcome home. There was a short pause before Taichi appeared from behind the corner, his brow furrowed. Haya? Why aren't you sleeping yet? It's late, you should rest. Hayato put on his best innocent face. I know, but I couldn't sleep, so I thought I could wait for you to come home. Taichi's eyes widened, and Hayato already started to get up, sensing the already rising panic from his boyfriend. Fiancé. Why can't you sleep? Is it your legs? Are you in pain? I have some painkillers in the bag, but they are kinda weak. I'll have to stop by at pharmacy for new ones, but... Hayato slowly strode to him and took his face in his palms, making him look down into his eyes. Stop rambling, I'm fine, you don't have to worry. I used the ointment, I exercised and rested too. I'm completely fine, I promise. Taichi blinked slowly, still looking uncertain as he carefully wrapped his arms around Hayato's waist to help him keep balance without the crutches. Are you sure? You have to tell me if you are in pain. You can't keep it to yourself. Or if you have trouble breathing again. That last week was horrible. Hayato sighed and pulled Taichi down for a kiss. The events of the last week were purely his fault for being dumb and feeling the need to hide his pain, which ended with him waking up in the middle of the night, unable to breathe. Thankfully, Taichi kept a cool head and called ambulance in time, otherwise the situation would be far more critical. I'm sorry, love. I promise I won't let that happen again. I swear I'm fine. Nothing hurts, breathing is easy, and I'm happy to see you. Taichi watched him for a moment longer before he let out a relieved breath and returned the kiss. Alright then, just please be careful on yourself. I don't want you to hurt yourself again. Hayato smiled and pinched Taichi's cheek. No worries, I don't want that either. I can't wait to play again, but I promise I won't rush anything. Good. Good. But if it's not because of pain, then why can't you sleep? Hayato shrugged. I don't know. I guess I just got a bit lonely tonight. Which isn't your fault. I know you have a lot of work right now, and I swear I'll help you out as soon as I can. Maya, I told you you don't have to touch your savings for this. We can manage. Hayato huffed. My money, my decision. I'm not letting you work yourself to exhaustion. Final word. Now come to bed and cuddle me. I missed you. Taichi rolled his eyes in a loving exasperation and kissed his forehead. So needy. You have what you decided to date. And... He tapped on the silver ring on Taichi's finger. Now you are stuck with me forever. Daichi's features softened as he raised his hand to his face, watching the ring glimmer in the light from the lamp. I guess I am, though I would never change. Good. Now, bed. You need to rest, and I need my snuggles. Come on. If he was being completely honest to himself, Daichi wasn't sure if he was more nervous or excited to be finally included in a challenge. He only wondered why it took others so long to include them. He expected Suga to be part of that group for ages. Though it was true Suga had enough work of his own with the kids in his class, and from what Daichi heard, some of the previous challenges were not that nice. So perhaps he was glad he was made to join on this one. It seemed harmless enough, and considering Suga usually stayed awake a bit longer than him, he wouldn't even have to wake his partner up for the sake of the challenge. Which is good. No need to see Ghost Gremlin mode. He got home from his job a bit later that day, after taking his time with all the paperwork his unit leader gave him to finish, and so he arrived to a fully cooked meat and Suga tapping his foot on the tiled floor. Took you long enough? Rolling his eyes, Daichi took off his shoes and then nodded at his boyfriend. Hello to you too, dear. I had a great day today, thank you for asking. How about yourself? Suga grumbled something Daichi didn't catch under his breath, obviously pouting. Daichi smiled and kissed the pout from his lips, earning that adorable nose scrunch he liked so much. Next time, let me know ahead of time when you stay longer at work. I wouldn't stress about the food so much if I knew you would be late. Why would you stress over food? I could wait even if I came home as usual. Suga tilted his head, gently boxing into his shoulder. Because I want you to come home to a finished meal. You work hard and deserve at least a small treat when you come home, don't you think? Daichi could about melt into a puddle of goo there and then. Aw, you're so sweet. What would I do without you? Die of starvation and loneliness, of course. Daichi snorted a short laugh and cupped Suga's cheeks, peppering his face with small kisses until Suga started to giggle like one of his little charges. Okay, stop, please. Love you too, but let's eat before it gets cold. Food can wait. I haven't seen you the whole day, so let me enjoy this. Nope, it was torture to prepare this. I'm not letting it go to waste. Daichi sighed, but there was a content smile on his lips when he gave Suga one last peck on the cheek and then sat to the table, admiring the delicious-looking meal. Thank you for the food. Daichi waited for about an hour after he went to bed, staring into the ceiling while he listened to the muffled sounds coming in through the closed door. Seems like a good enough opportunity. He counted to 10, then got up and, wrapped tightly into the blanket, waddled into the living room. Suga raised his head from the papers he was working on, his expression shifting into surprise when Daichi came closer. What's the matter, dear? You should be resting. You have a morning shift tomorrow, remember? Daichi put on his best puppy eyes. I can't sleep. Oh, well, I can make you some tea to help you. A grimace scrunched Daichi's face. The one your grandma makes? No, thank you. Hey, it doesn't taste the best, but it helps. Yeah, because anyone who tries to drink it gets knocked out just by the smell of that thing. Suga giggled. That's probably true. But I don't know what else could help. Did you try to turn your pillow on the cold side? Maybe you could come to sleep too? And hug me? That might help. Suga raised his eyebrow at him, but he couldn't hide the amused smile playing in the corner of his lips. Is that your way of getting me to bed and asking to be a little spoon? Maybe. Suga shook his head, but then closed the book in front of him and got up, guiding Daichi back into the bedroom by his shoulders. Fine, give me 10 minutes. Daichi kissed his forehead. Thank you, honey. Love you. Yeah, I know. I'm the greatest. Now let me change. I'll be with you soon. Don't take too long. It gets lonely here without you. Suga nudged his shoulder and went to change into his sleepwear. And if he came back to Daichi softly snoring in bed, he definitely didn't complain.